The Sui, Tang, and Song dynasties were three Chinese dynasties that experienced great change in gender and family roles through the philosophies of Buddhism and Neo-Confucianism.
Buddhism existed in the Sui dynasty and early Tang and came through the Silk Road as nomads integrated into Chinese families. Later, Buddhism was displaced during the Tang and Song dynasty by Confucianists and Taoists.
The Sui dynasty was unified but weak. Chinese Buddhism changed many of the original Indian roots, like how husband supports wife turned into husband-controlled wife. Celibate nuns and monks changed the view of social equality of men and women had a place in Buddhist nunneries, unlike previous years of segregation.
However, conflict between devotion to family and devotion to Buddhist practice arose. It became an argument of domestic confinement versus feminine worship and sanctity. While family devotion often provided mothers and females of the family with some praise through the belief of female purity, traditional Buddhist practice detested this, believing women and their bodies to be corrupted.
Although Buddhism was very similar in the Sui dynasty near the beginning of the Tang dynasty, Buddhism had altered many values of the family roles and gender placement that early Neo-Confucianists and pro-Taoists admired and adhered to, and thus Buddhism was attacked.
In its decline, it was suggested by pro-Taoist and pro-Confucianist people that Buddhism undermined family values and attacked the traditional socio-political hierarchy, or the values of the traditional organization of Chinese families in accordance to gender roles and nuclear structure.
At the start of Neo-Confucianism, men took over jobs in factories and textile production, while women began to work in restaurants.
Men were idealized as fiercely loyal and brave, had intense moral standards, and valued self-sacrifice. Family obligations to sacred lineage, or zong, became a matter of importance.
Neo-Confucianism was implemented as a major religion of the Song dynasty. Neo-Confucianism revival caused a patriarchal restriction on women. Sons of families inherited a substantial amount of official positions, and the Song were trying to restore the Han Dynasty view on women as passive creatures. Men and women were kept segregated in every aspect of life. Being manly entailed refined professions like calligraphy, education, and poetry, like the Westlake Poetry Society, while being feminated was encapsulated by weakness and delicacy. Women were marked as distractions to men, and concubines and female inn-workers to keep guests company became common. Remarriage of widows was allowed but looked down upon.
Women were used to continue the family line with intense devotion in the sacred lineage. There was sanctity by way of motherhood and bearing children, to devote oneself to the family line. Foot binding, or binding a young girl's foot to restrict her and break bones within the foot, became popular in the Song dynasty. A pride existed in wearing tiny shoes. Mongols of the same time never adapted to the rite of passage.